Okay, great. Okay, I think the webinar is now live. I'm just seeing that people are gradually coming in as the list of attendees is going up. So I'll just give it a few seconds just before I introduce the session. But welcome to everybody who's joined us already. We're really excited about the session tonight. So I'll just give it a few more seconds. I can see that people are still joining the call before we start. Okay, great. So welcome to our first ever Placed Academy Insights. This is a series of programs which will be running over the next 10 weeks, and it's free for young people to attend and come and sit in and listen to some really interesting insights into the built environment. We'll be hearing from lots of different professionals that work across architecture, planning, urban design, landscape, construction, and we'll also be having some really exciting conversations around women in the built environment and diverse representation in the built environment. So please have a look at our other events that are happening and make sure you sign up, and they're completely free. So definitely make the most of that opportunity to come along and listen to some different professionals across the industry. And so you've got a bit of an idea of what it might be like to work in the industry, and it's that little bit of we will recognise your contributions to these sessions by giving you a certificate if you come along to all of them, so that'll look great on your CV as well. But for today's session, just to give you a quick general overview, we are Placed. We are a social enterprise. We work across the whole of the Northwest, and we engage people from local communities in conversations around their built environment and what's important to them about the places they live and work. And we also run educational workshops with young children from primary school age up to teenagers in our Placed Academy program, which is a free program for 14 to 18-year-olds, which you might have either got involved with in the past before or seen a little bit about on our website. So make sure you go and check that out after the session tonight. The way the session's going to work is we will have a short 10-minute presentation from our amazing panelists this evening. We'll be hearing from Anna Diegrich from David Miller Architects based in Liverpool. We will then hear from Emily Green from Buttress Architects based in Manchester. And then we'll hear from Shreenidhi, Srinath from PNHS Architects in the Northeast. Whilst you're listening to their presentations, if you think of a question you'd like to ask any of them, please put your question in the Q&A box, which you should see at the bottom of your computer screen. We encourage you to put your question in that box. Obviously, there's a lot of you on the call this evening. We might not be able to cover all of your questions, so we'll try and pick up as many as we can. If you see a question on there that you would also like the answer to, there is an option to like that question. So we also encourage you to like a question that you would also like ask, if that makes sense. I think once you look into that Q&A box, that should hopefully make some sense for you. So yeah, we encourage you to ask your questions in the Q&A box, not use the chat. And yeah, I think that's just about it. So we'll go straight into our presentations now, beginning first with Anna.
Hello, I'm just going to share my screen. Perfect. Can you see my screen now? Yeah.
Yes, perfect. We can see your screen, Anna. Thank you.
Thanks. Cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. First of all, hi everybody, and thanks for having me here today. My name is Anna. I'm an architect and I work for an architectural practice called David Miller Architects. And I was just, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my journey and how did I get here. And so, sorry for the pixelated photos, but this is the only thing I could find from the past. I think, as far as I can remember, everything started for me, or I started to think about architecture when I was at high school. I was good at drawing and I really enjoyed drawing. And there was this one year in high school where one of the teachers, as part of our assignments, started to ask us to go to Madrid, which is the city where I grew up, and visit kind of like various buildings. So yeah, like just a little bit, this is kind of me drawing somewhere in Madrid, and this is a bit the landscape of my city. And I just put together some photos. Oh, actually, sorry, I'm gonna go to presentation. That might be better. Can you still see my screen? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's just.
I just realized. Yeah, I just realized that I was in the presentation. So yeah, so some of the buildings that I visited, and they really caught my attention, not only because of obviously the shape and the quality of the architecture is amazing, but also because I started to understand how were they designed and why did they work and how did they respond to its context and why, you know, they were so functional from inside. So I became more and more passionate about it, so that when I finished my A-levels, I decided to study architecture. So I did this in Madrid, which, as I said, is where I am from. And my first job was also in Madrid for a small practice. And in this small practice, I would do mainly small family houses, like the one you are seeing at your left. Yeah, that's correct. But also, you know, any others, like the one in the middle is like a courtroom, and the one to the right is like an urban landscape that we did need to redesign. Later on, after a year working in Madrid, I decided to move a little bit around, and I found a job in Innsbruck in Austria, where I was mainly collaborating with a studio. And the main thing that we were doing is to submit international competitions. So this is one of the examples of the designs that we were doing in there. And finally, I moved to London and later on to the UK, where I've been mainly working in big regeneration master plans and residential projects, but also many others like offices or wedding venues, or, you know, sometimes some other projects come along and I also am able to help. But yeah, probably the main thing that I've been doing all these years is it's residential. So this is my office. As I said, it's called David Miller Architects, and we have offices in London, which is the one to the left, and in Liverpool, the one to the right. So you can see me there. Talking on the phone, obviously. Now, this is like what a normal day looks like in the office. It's like a very, very open office. It's open plan and it's very collaborative. Everybody is talking to everybody. Even if we are in different offices, we are constantly calling each other because we work in projects in London, and people from London work, you know, in projects here in Liverpool. We work in a variety of sectors. As I said, you know, my experience is more in housing, but we also do education, we also do offices and workspaces, retail and sports. And I just wanted to show you a bit of what is one day, you know, working as an architect. Or I would say that, you know, as I mentioned before, it really depends on the project where you are working at. So it depends on the sector. As I said before, it could be residential or it could be offices, but also there are other factors. If, for example, we are working in the first stages of the project, which is what we call concept design, you know, we could be doing sketches, we could be, you know, generating drawings, or we could be researching about the context where we are going to design our project, or we may need to put together like a massing model, like a 3D massing, like the one that you are seeing in your right, to explore and understand how many houses can we fit on the site. So these first stages are a bit more creative and a bit more artistic. For developing the design, it's a bit like in the middle or after the initial stages. where together with other professionals, like it could be mechanical engineers or structural engineers or fire consultants, we developed the design that we started in the initial stages and yeah, put it all together so it works before going to site. And in here, I just wanted to mention that in the company where I am currently working, in David Miller Architects, we work with BIM. This stands for Building Information Modeling. And what it means is the way we develop the design is like we build a 3D model, which it would be like a kind of a copy of a replica of what it would be on site. And in here, we introduce all the information that is necessary to build this project. And this information can be, again, coming from the fire consultant, or it can be coming from the manufacturers, or it even could be the color of the bricks or the type of bricks that need to go to site in order to build this project. Other day could be that we have to go to a site visit. So I just added a couple of pictures of what it's like to be there. Or for example, work experience, we have like a very nice social value program, and every once in a while we have people coming to the office and we have these sessions where we talk about architecture and we do workshops together. So that could be like another completely different day in architecture. So probably one of the things that I most like of my job is that is very varied. Like I don't feel like if it's repetitive because of depending on the project or the day that you are working or the stage where you are at. It just seems like if you are every day doing a bit of something different, and probably the problem solving side of architecture is something very I very much like. And yeah, I think I included this last picture because I just wanted to think about a tip that I would give to anybody that is thinking about studying architecture. And well, this is actually Charles and Ray Eames. They were architects, but one of my favorite architects, and they were a couple, but they were they didn't work really as architects, but they were doing so many other things. They were doing furniture and they were designing. They were very, very creative people. And I think what I wanted to say with this quote is that probably just do whatever you feel that you like, because I think in architecture you just don't need, I don't think you need to be an architect, for example, to be very good at maths or very good at physics or very good at drawing. Maybe everybody has like a different skill and everybody can bring different skills to like a studio or a workplace. But I think what is important in architecture is that you like what you are doing. And it may be a variety of things, or it may be one thing that has, to do with, 3D modeling rather than with drawing. But it is like that there are throughout the whole university and then, the professional life, there are kind of like some challenges that are good if you like architecture, but if you don't, it could be a bit feel a bit difficult. So if you decide to go for this, just enjoy it, because there's like a lot of things that you can do in architecture. It's not only about building buildings or design buildings. So yeah, that's what I would say to myself probably when I started thinking about studying architecture. And this is my presentation. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I think you can, India may know better how to do that.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was really great to listen to your journey about how you got to where you are And I really liked your top tips that you put there at the end as well. And also Anna included that slide about work experience opportunities, and that's another reason why we really wanted to hold these online virtual Q&A sessions for young people, because we realise at the moment it's really difficult for young people to have any kind of face-to-face work experience currently, because of the situation that we're in. So another reason for you to kind of come along to these events and really make the most out of getting some information and top tips from professionals already in there in the industry. Yes, so thank you, Anna. If you do have any questions for Anna or anything that she mentioned, just put them in the Q&A chat box, and we'll pick that up later on. So now we'll hear from Emily from Buttress Architects. So Emily, when you're ready to share your screen, that would be great. Thanks. Oh, just before you start, I forgot to mention, we are actually recording this session. For the young people, we can't see you at all. You're not on camera. We can't hear you either. So it's completely anonymous. If you just put your questions in the Q&A box, that's how you contact us. The sessions are recorded for anyone to watch later on if they aren't able to attend tonight. So yeah, just to let you know. Okay, thanks.
Hi everybody, my name's Emily. I'm an architect at Buttress Architects in Manchester. I recently qualified in July of last year, so I've not been an architect for very long, but I have been working towards it for around 10 years, and I'm currently in the Arts, Culture, Heritage team at Buttress. So I first started thinking about architecture probably when I was in high school, but in primary school I did enjoy building things and art, and I pretty much enjoyed most of my subjects. So I think when I got into high school I was thinking about something that maybe it didn't matter what kind of subjects you were interested in or focused on, but a kind of a degree that you could use all of your skills that you had or all of your interests. So I got to be an architect through the kind of traditional route, which is you start with a 3-year degree and then you move on to a part 1 placement. So generally people take 1 to 2 years out in between the degree and the masters, where you kind of build up your work experience and you record it every 3 months and keep those records safe for the future. And then you go back to university and you don't have to go back to the same one. And you do a 2 years master's degree in architecture as well. And then afterwards, you need a minimum of another 12 months experience. But I decided that I wanted to work until I kind of felt like I was ready to take my final exam. So I worked in 3 different practices for around 4 years. And at the same time, I kind of I took my kind of course for the part 3, which is your final professional exams at the same time, and then finally took the exam and interview last year. So at the minute at Buttress Architects, I work in the Arts, Culture, Heritage team. So I mainly work on historic and listed buildings. So sometimes, like this photograph here, I'll go to a site and we'll be looking at the condition of the building and how we can repair it and how we can bring it back to its original kind of condition. So that involves taking lots of photographs, and then we go back and we write a report of recommendations about how we can get that building back to how it used to be, and then potentially look at different alternative uses for that building. And then other times, sites like this, it's already a museum and they may just want a few improvements on site. So again, we'd go to site and have a look at it, and then come back to the office and sketch some designs and things before we take it to construction further down the line. Other kinds of projects I've been working on are kind of like town hall refurbishments or other historic buildings. So we kind of keep it as it is and its use stays the same, but we look at refurbishing it and bringing it back to its original condition and improving maybe things like technology in there in the council chambers. And this is just another photograph when we were looking at a roof of a building the other week which leaked. So again, it's kind of out and about, attending site and then having a look at the building outside. Other projects I may do new build from time to time, but generally in my team, a lot of the time it's looking at bringing the building back or looking at creative uses or reuses for the building or refurbishments. And this one is at the Science and Industry Museum in Manchester. So this is underneath, this is in the basement and under the railways. So we were looking at where the railway used to be and the train used to be running across. It currently isn't very structurally safe. So we were looking at how maybe this can be repaired underneath and it can be stable again so that the train can run from side to side at the museum. So a day for me at the minute is probably a bit of a different day than it used to be. So a lot of the time I am sat at my desk at the computer most of the week, answering emails, speaking to clients, sketching, drawing up concept designs, writing reports. But then other aspects of my week, I will be out on site. I've got a few projects that are being built at the moment. So it's kind of splitting my time between being at my computer and working, and also managing my time to be able to go and see the projects being built on site as well. So I think the challenges at the moment working during the pandemic is that this kind of job is very collaborative and it's good to be around people, and I'm finding at the minute it's probably a bit more tricky because having to make a lot of calls and do that kind of process over the internet, kind of like this now, like all on Zoom. Whereas before you could just go over to somebody else in the office and show them a sketch and just get their involvement and their engagement. So I think that's the most challenging part at the moment, but it's still possible. And also that photograph was my little rabbit just running around in the kitchen all the time, just up to mischief. So that was a bit different in the first lockdown. I think one thing that I would say as a top tip is before you choose what kind of subject or how you want to go into the built environment is potentially do your research into, there's so many different types of job roles that you can go into in this industry. And when I was kind of looking into it, I didn't really know anything about anything else. So I only knew architecture and I only knew about being an architect. And I think as well, if you do go to university, every university is different as well. So even if you did want to become an architect, every degree and every master's degree does things slightly differently. So you can kind of look at things that you might be interested more in learning in more and what you want to learn about. And also I think now that there's an apprenticeship route into this as well, I found that I learn a lot working with other people in the office, and I think that's something I might have considered, like working day to day with other people and kind of doing my degree whilst working might have been a bit better suited to my personality, I think. This is the rest of my week is generally spent like this. This is my team, and we're all kind of talking about resourcing and what projects we're working on and whether we need any help on projects. Like, because you can tell we all got quite miserable actually, apart from one of us on there, and I don't know why that is. So again, it's just about keeping in touch and working as a team as well. If you want to be an architect, working as a team is very important. And finally, what I'm most proud of this year with becoming an architect is actually qualifying this year, and also doing it during the pandemic as well, which made things a bit more tricky. But if anybody's got any questions, I think just write them in the question and answer box and we'll get back to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily, again, for giving us some really interesting and useful insight there into a different type of architecture. So not only just building new buildings, but also refurbishing and repurposing older buildings as well. And also some really great top tips there at the end of thinking about different routes into it, and also really doing your research into the different types of roles there are across the built environment. Again, I would encourage you to come along to all of these sessions, because we'll be trying to look at lots of different types of jobs that you can do in this sector. So yes, hopefully if you do come along to the next sessions, you'll get a bit of a better understanding and gain even more knowledge around that, and that might help you when it comes to making your own decision on what pathway you'd like to take. And finally, on to Shree. Thank you for your questions coming in so far. This is brilliant. So keep putting them in the Q&A box.
Right, shall I share my screen?
Yes, please, if that works.
Right, can everyone see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
So, hi, I'm Shreenidhi. I'm currently a Part 1 architectural assistant at P+HS. It's in the northeast near Newcastle, and I'm quite young compared to the other two in my professional career. So I will be talking more about my studies rather than my professional career, which I started in October last year. So I don't really have that much work experience. So I want to talk about what kind of got me into architecture. And basically in around year 7, I kind of came across this quote because I was always interested in wanting to kind of change the world and make the world a better place. And I didn't really know how to do that and what kind of career I could choose to do that. And it was only after kind of seizing like the many opportunities that I got through kind of Arkwright and Small Piece and like Duke of Edinburgh, I realized that architecture was a good way to kind of bring this all together and, you know, have a really good career that gave me all those opportunities. So Small Piece and Arkwright is more towards engineering, which I'll explain later. But like say Duke of Edinburgh, you know, doing all that kind of volunteering and skills that it really brings out the architect in you, I guess. And I was always interested in art and design and geography and maths, and all those subjects together, it makes you a well-rounded architect, really. So my journey, so basically, obviously I started off with my GCSEs. My favorite GCSEs were maths, physics, art and geography and DT. And these were also kind of, I feel, really good for architecture in my, like personally to me. But for you, you might have textiles in there. Like it takes a lot of subjects to make a good architect. And for my A levels, I chose those because initially I wanted to be a chemical engineer, and I actually pursued this and did 1 year of this. But in this year, I really did not like it, and I regretted my choice because I really missed my art and design. And I had to take the step and kind of take a U-turn on my choices and then apply for architecture. This is really important, and I really wanted to include this because I thought engineering was a really good profession, prospects-wise, and I put that above what I truly enjoy. And I just want to tell everyone that, you know, by doing all this, I never got talks like this for me. So like if I had this, then I would not have pursued the wrong career path and not kind of taken that year out. So really go for what you want to do and what you will enjoy for the rest of your life, basically. So then I joined Manchester School of Architecture, and that was the best 3 years of my life, even though towards the end of it, it kind of fell apart. And then afterwards, I somehow managed to get a job in October, and I'm doing that now. And then hopefully I will return to my master's course in September or even next year. And then who knows what's next. Hopefully I'll become like Emily and Anna and, you know, go and work for some more practices. And in that corner is my group of best friends. So at uni, we went on loads of trips all around Europe. So if you're looking forward to that, you know, traveling and things like that, universities have really got opportunities to do that, basically, and meet, like, every single person there is, well, 2 of them are from England, but everyone else is international, from Spain, from the Middle East, from Romania. So you will meet so many people around the world, which is a great thing about architecture. It really brings everyone together. So yeah. So currently what I do now, what is my role? So I spent a month in my actual office, and most of my time has actually been at home with my new kitten, and that's my workstation, basically. So in the orange is the types of architecture I work in right now. So mainly it is hospital and healthcare, which is quite interesting, which I didn't really learn about at uni. It was more kind of residential or commercial. So, you know, there's so many sectors to work in, and personally I really like healthcare because it's quite detailed, and there's a lot of specifics to go into it. And currently my roles are quite limited because I can't see people and interact. But before working from home, I did a lot of site visits, which was good to kind of get out and actually see architecture physically, which was something we obviously didn't get at uni, and it was just nice to kind of actually see something in real life. And other than that, it's kind of meetings and client presentations and planning applications, which is kind of also the reality of architecture, the kind of business and the law aspect. So there's a lot of factors that come into actually carrying out a project in that we learn through experience, which obviously I'll take this experience, like, it'll be so useful for me to, like, kind of learn actually how to produce a building. And then here's just some pictures of my screen. Instead of showing you fancy pictures, which I don't really have yet, I thought I'll just show you my screen of what I've been doing. So like these 3 pictures show different softwares that I've been using. Revit, I didn't really have much experience on, but that was one of the challenges, learning a new software, which it wasn't really much of a challenge. It was something that I quite liked, actually, like learning some new skills. And then it was just nice to have responsibility and have some sort of tasks to carry out, and like be proud of my work and really show what I've learned from uni and kind of show it to other people and learn from people as well. That was very, very important. So yeah. And then lastly, I'd say my greatest achievement to date is probably finishing my degree after all that. But throughout my degree, I kind of really got involved with lots of extracurriculars. I started my own society with a group of my peers about well-being in our uni course. So that bottom picture is kind of one of our Instagram posts. And then there was also a society called MedLife, where we kind of contacted communities in Manchester and helped them kind of renovate and have little projects to kind of improve their spaces. So here to the right images, it's kind of like a little seating area recycled from pallets to kind of help this kind of refugee pub, basically. So that's the great thing about architecture. There's lots of societies and people want to get together and actually help the community, and you can do that directly. You get to see a physical difference, and everyone's, you know, just really comes together. And then that top picture is the last picture I have at uni in the library before lockdown, before the last March lockdown, really. So yeah. And then lastly, I have one piece of advice, which is carpe diem. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'm not sure. It means seize the day. And basically, the best advice I can give you is take every opportunity as it comes, even if it's small. Talking to someone, network, you know, ask questions. Don't be afraid of asking a question. Don't be afraid of looking at links. Just look at websites, and don't be afraid of mistakes. That's a really big one. You know, just do as much as you can, but it's okay to take a break as well and not get overwhelmed. And remember that no one has the same path, and that doing architecture is not just 7 years. You know, it can take longer or it can take shorter. Like, there's so many routes into it. You don't need to be stuck on the same path, basically. Everyone's got their own end goal at whatever stage in life. So don't be afraid of that. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Sreenidhi. It was really interesting to see all those beautiful visuals and images that you put up there, and hear about the different software that you've had to learn about, and some really great advice there about following what you really enjoy doing, and you know, making your own pathway. And yeah, thank you so much for your presentation. So now we have 10 minutes or so to have a look at some of the questions that we've had come in from our attendees. So loads of questions. I can see that we've had 27 questions put in the box already, so we may not get round to asking all of these questions. So I'll try and pick up on some which seem to be quite popular, indicated through the like thumbs up little icon. Just to start off though, I can see Anna, you have put yourself forward to answer one question there, which is do all architects earn the same amount of money, or does it depend what projects you are working on? So over to you.
That's funny. Sorry, I think I clicked by mistake, but it's good.
Oh,
I'm fine.
You put yourself up there now to answer that.
You know, it was. I just didn't know how it worked, but it's fine. Actually, yeah, it depends on the company. It depends on the on the project, and it depends on where you live. Obviously, in London you may earn more money than, I don't know, maybe in other places. But obviously, life is also more expensive in there. Like I was living in London for 2 years, and it's very expensive. So yeah, it depends. There is also something called, the salary guide that the RIBA kind of like publishes every year. The RIBA is the Royal Institute for British Architects. Sorry, I was thinking, what is the B for? British Architects. And there is kind of like a salary guide that you can Google, where it kind of like shows 3 bands. One is like the low quartile, I think it's called. Another one is a medium, and another one is the high quartile. And I think this really helps to set up like at least a minimum. So for example, I think if you are, let's have a look, I don't know, like if you are architectural 1 assistant, part 1, there's like a minimum salary that you should be earning according to the RIBA. So it's always good to have that in mind, obviously, when you are looking for a job or applying for a job. But yeah, it varies. Just make sure that at least you're in the minimum or in the low quartile, I would say, to make sure that at least you're getting what it should be legal, or, But yeah, that's it. I don't know, Emily, if you want to add something that you may know.
I would say as well that some practices may all different practices, it may have different factors that would affect whether they would be able to stick to the salary guide as well. So it also depends on how big the practice is, and the kind of projects that they have and things like that. So it's a good idea to get kind of an average, but I think it will fluctuate above and below those salaries as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. We've had another question come through that's been quite popular too, which is, did you study A-levels? If so, what did you take, and what grades did you get for the university you wanted to go to? So I know that's quite a lot in that question. Maybe Emily, if you want to start off, I think a lot of people are asking about A-levels and GCSEs and what's best to take to get into. Yeah,
so I think this is one of the things that I would say doesn't necessarily matter, and you should do what you want and what you're good at, because I think I chose all the subjects I thought I was supposed to take, and then I didn't get very good grades at A-level, and I didn't get into the university I wanted to, but I've still got where I want to be today. So it didn't affect me that I didn't get the grades. I went to a different university, still studied architecture, and I've still qualified as an architect further down the line. But I think if I had chosen subjects that I maybe enjoyed a bit more, because I chose maths, physics, geography and graphics. I think if I had chosen maybe a language or something that I was, I really enjoyed, and maybe got rid of physics, maybe didn't need to do maths, and I could have done another art subject, I might have got better grades. But at the end of the day, it didn't really change anything for me, because I've still managed to get where I wanted to be in the end.
Yeah, Thank you, Emily. And just sort of on the topic of that, really, because it's not always about grades necessarily, but also just about kind of applying different skill set, well, learning different skills and applying different skills across your studying as well as work placements. Shreenidhi, are you able to kind of comment on that at all through your experience so far of just entering into the profession?
As in,
I know you talked a little bit about kind of teamwork and sort of your involvement in extracurricular stuff. I'm just sort of trying to highlight to our young people that it's not all about the grades, but it's also about kind of building up different skills and finding opportunities to do that across education as well as work experience or work part-time work, perhaps, when that's a possibility.
So at university, everyone kind of learns the same thing as it's part of the syllabus, but that one thing that sets you apart when you're being employed is what extra did you do, or what interests do you have? You don't have to do every single extracurricular activity in the world to kind of get ahead, but it's what interests you that make, you know, I was really interested in sustainability, so I really worked on that, and I was personally really interested, and therefore the employer really picked up on that and was interested in that because it aligned with their values and ethics. So that's kind of what really helped. So I wouldn't kind of focus on do every single sport and extra thing out there, rather than focus on what you truly like to do. If it's music, then go with music. You know, music gives you lots of good extra skills. I didn't do music, so I can't really judge on that, but each skill gives you personal attributes which are really valuable. So
yeah, absolutely, definitely. And I really find it so encouraging to hear that from all three of you. It really is about kind of pursuing what you get enjoyment from, and how important that is, because whatever job you do end up going into, that's going to be a big chunk of your life that you're spending on that. So it really, you do want to make sure that it's something that you get a lot of joy from. We had another question come through about is architecture a type of job with lots of travel opportunities? Anna, I think because perhaps you've been working in different places through your job.
Yeah, I personally think so. I think that architecture in my case helped to just you know, go accept jobs in other countries, feeling a bit like, you know, like if I still would have like the job that I wanted, etc. So I think yes, that architecture can open, you know, like the doors to work abroad if this is what you want. But having said that, I also, you know, you also need to kind of, it's not like, oh, suddenly I just go somewhere. Like you just need to get, you know, to be very well informed whenever you go somewhere to work. Like, for example, when I moved into the UK, so as Emily and Sreenidhi, they have been explaining their path. But my path was very similar, but obviously in another country. So what I did have to do when I arrived here is to register in the ARB, which stands for Architect, ARB, Architect Board. Oh my God, sorry. What is the ARB stands for? Architects Registration Board. So basically to register as an architect, to be able to work as an architect, if that makes any sense. So yes, it opened doors, but then you always need to do a couple of, you know, probably paperwork to be able to, you know, work in other places.
Yeah, definitely. And would you say that traveling inspires you, or?
Yeah, I think that's something that I really like. I think that's something that I always enjoyed, and you know, I love meeting people from everywhere. So yeah.
Anybody, Emily or Sreenidhi, do you have anything to add to that question around it being a job which has travel opportunities?
Well, university, there was lots of opportunities, so you could kind of get that out of your system if you wanted to. But also, like in this kind of work experience stage that I'm at, I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that because we're not kind of committed to a job as much as a part 3 architect would be. And if I had the chance, I would definitely love to take another year out and travel and work somewhere else. Obviously, I can't do that currently, but that would have been a dream of mine. And that's something I would have definitely done. So, but there is definitely opportunities, just you have to kind of seek for it and take initiative and kind of look for firms that possibly offer that and have the same values as you. Each firm is really different, and they have an idea of working very differently. So you've got to kind of find a firm that you kind of click with. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Emily, sorry, were you going to add something?
I was just again, yeah, I did go on study trips throughout university and even in masters as well. So that's a good 5 years of studying and traveling. But as well, like I think after you've done your masters, you could work for 12 months and then you could qualify. But I continued working and traveled around working in different practices, and also made sure that I went, to see different places as well. But the practice that I work in, we go on a yearly study trip abroad as well, and go and see different architecture as well. And it's really nice to get to know everybody that you might not normally work with in the office on projects as well. So we usually do that. Obviously we haven't this year with the pandemic, but that's something that we do.
And just on that, Emily, are there any tips that you maybe I know at the moment with the pandemic, it's a different world that we're living in at the moment, but once hopefully we get through this, do you have any tips for getting work placements, or how to make yourselves kind of stand out, or anything for our young people?
I think it's just really not being afraid to contact practices, and give them a call or send an email across, and just for me it's standing out of how much you're interested in getting involved and getting experience in the built environment, and just putting that across. And I think practices are going to adapt as well. I think we're looking at how we can do work placement virtually as well, in case this kind of goes on a bit longer. So I wouldn't be worried that it might not happen, because I think people are still going to try and do that.
That's really encouraging to hear. That's very hopeful to hear that there are practices that are looking into solutions so that our young people are still able to benefit from some sort of work experience in some ways. Okay, so we're kind of coming towards the end of the session. I know there's so many questions that have gone unanswered, but we're going to try really hard to get those questions answered, and we'll send them out via email. So just another reminder for you to sign up for our other sessions that we've got going on from at the same time on Monday, so 4:30 till 5:15 across covering lots of different types of roles in the built environment. So please make sure that you check out our programme of these Academy Insights. We'll put a link into the chat box now for you to have a look at that. And also just to let you know about an event that we've got this Saturday at 3 p.m. We are running a little design workshop for young people. It's free for you to attend, and we will also put a link in our chat box for you to find more information about that and to sign up. It will be hands-on, and it will give you a little taste of what it might be like to do a bit of design. So come along, it'll be great fun. And just to say thank you so much to our amazing panel this evening. It's been so fantastic to hear about your jobs, your journeys, your top tips, and thank you for taking the time out to come and give us this amazing insight into your career and answering some of our questions this evening. So yes, thank you so much, and hope to see some of you other young people join us at our next sessions. I think that is everything for now. So this is the end of our session, and yeah, see you very soon. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope you like it. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.